Have you ever made a snap decision that backfired spectacularly? Or spent hours agonizing over something trivial? Ever wonder why you trust your gut, even when it's wrong? What if I told you there's a battle raging inside your mind right now, influencing every choice you make? It's not multiple personality disorder, don't worry. It's something far more universal, far more fascinating, and understanding can completely transform how you think and live. I'm talking about the groundbreaking work of Nobel Prize-winning psychologist Daniel Kahneman in his book, Thinking Fast and Slow. This isn't just some dry academic theory. This is about unlocking the hidden powers of your brain, understanding why you make the choices you do, and learning how to make better ones. Stick around, because in this video, we're diving deep into Kahneman's insights. Get ready to change the way you think forever. So, what's the big secret? Kahneman reveals that your brain isn't a single, unified entity. Instead, it's run by two distinct systems, constantly battling for control. He calls them System 1 and System 2, and they're like the ultimate odd couple. System 1 is the brain's autopilot. It's fast, intuitive, and emotional. It's the reason you can recognize a friend's face in a crowd instantly, or react without thinking when a car suddenly brakes in front of you. It operates on instinct and gut feelings. Think of it as that impulsive friend who always says yes to spontaneous adventures. But here's the catch. System 1 is also easily fooled. It jumps to conclusions, relies on biases, and often makes decisions based on incomplete information. Imagine walking into a store and seeing a huge sale sign. System 1 immediately screams, "Bargain," without even considering if you need the item or if the price is actually a good deal. Now, let's talk about System 2. This is the brain's deep thinker. It's slow, analytical, and deliberate. System 2 kicks in when you're solving a complex math problem, planning a strategic move in chess, or making a major life decision. It requires focus, effort, and concentration. Remember that feeling when you're trying to solve a puzzle and everything else fades away? That's System 2 hard at work. The problem? System 2 is lazy. It doesn't like expending energy. Most of the time, it defaults to System 1, even when careful consideration is needed. Let's say you're hiring someone. You meet a candidate who reminds you of your favorite cousin. System 1 gives them an immediate thumbs up. System 2 should step in and objectively evaluate their skills and experience. But often, it just goes along with System 1's snap judgment. And that's how biases creep in. So, how do these systems work together? Imagine you're driving down a familiar road. System 1 is handling most of the tasks. Steering, maintaining speed, noticing signs. Your mind can wander, and you can even have a conversation. But suddenly, a dog runs into the road. System 1 immediately yells for help, and System 2 takes over, slamming on the brakes and avoiding a collision. It's a constant dance. Knowing when to trust each system is critical. So let's dive deeper. Okay, now that we met the players, let's talk about their weaknesses. Because even though these systems are designed to help us, they can also lead us astray. This is where heuristics and cognitive biases come in. Heuristics are mental shortcuts, rules of thumb that System 1 uses to make quick decisions. They're helpful in some situations, but they can also lead to systematic errors in judgment, known as cognitive biases. Let's start with the anchoring bias. This is where we rely too heavily on the first piece of information we receive, the anchor, when making decisions. Think about negotiating a salary. The first number mentioned often sets the stage for the entire negotiation, even if it's completely arbitrary. Next up, the availability heuristic. This is when we judge the likelihood of something based on how easily examples come to mind. After watching a scary movie about a shark attack, you might be convinced that swimming in the ocean is incredibly dangerous, even though the statistical risk is actually quite low. And then there's confirmation bias. Oh boy, this is a big one. This is our tendency to seek out information that confirms our existing beliefs and ignore evidence that contradicts them. If you believe a certain political party is corrupt, you'll likely focus on news stories that support that belief and dismiss anything that suggests otherwise. Let's not forget loss aversion. This is the idea that we feel the pain of a loss more strongly than the pleasure of an equivalent gain. Imagine someone offers you a choice, a guaranteed $50 or a 50% chance to win $100. Most people will choose a guaranteed $50 because the fear of losing looms larger than the potential reward. And finally, the halo effect. This is when one positive trait of a person or thing influences our overall impression. If someone is physically attractive, we might automatically assume they're also intelligent, kind, and trustworthy, even if there's no evidence to support that. The crazy part is, we all fall victim to these biases. But by understanding them, you can start to recognize them in your own thinking. Ask yourself, am I jumping conclusions? Am I relying on gut feelings instead of facts? Am I seeking out information that confirms what I already believe? Engaging System 2 at the right moment can save you from making costly mistakes. Okay, prepare for a mind-blowing concept: the illusion of understanding. Kahneman argues that we often believe we understand the world far better than we actually do. Our minds are storytelling machines. System 1 loves to create coherent narratives, even when those stories are based on incomplete or flawed information. Think about predicting the stock market. Experts often make confident predictions about where it's headed, but research shows that they're wrong just as often as they're right. Yet, their confidence in our willingness to believe them creates the illusion that someone really knows what's going on. This leads to hindsight bias. After something happens, we construct neat cause and effect stories to explain it. After a company becomes wildly successful, analysts might say it was obvious they had the right product at the right time. But in reality, countless other companies with similar products failed. The success story feels inevitable only in hindsight because our brains smooth over the chaos of reality. It's also related to overconfidence. When we believe we understand something deeply, we're less likely to question our assumptions. Kahneman calls this the "what you see is all there is" effect. System 1 focuses on information immediately available and ignores what's missing. So, how do we break free from this illusion? It starts with humility. Acknowledge that the world is more random and unpredictable than it seems. Ask yourself, what information am I missing? Could chance or luck play a bigger role than I think? Am I being overconfident in my ability to predict outcomes? Question your assumptions, embrace uncertainty, and be wary of overly simple explanations. Prepare for another mind bender. Kahneman introduces the concept of the two selves, the experiencing self and the remembering self. These two perspectives don't always agree on what matters, and that disconnect shapes how we make decisions about our lives. The experiencing self is the part of you that lives in the moment. It's the self that reacts to how things feel right now. Whether you're enjoying a sunset, enduring a painful dentist appointment, or laughing with friends, it measures happiness in real time. The remembering self, on the other hand, is a storyteller in your mind. It looks back on events and decides how you'll remember them, but it doesn't weigh every moment equally. Instead, it focuses on two things: the peak of the experience, the most intense moment, good or bad, and the end. This leads to the peak end rule. For example, imagine you're on vacation. Most of the trip is enjoyable, but on the last day, you get food poisoning. Your remembering self might label the entire vacation as terrible, even though most of it was great. This conflict shapes how we make choices. When we plan experiences, we often prioritize what our remembering self will enjoy, rather than what our experiencing self might prefer. So, how do you balance these two selves? Become aware of their differences. Ask yourself, am I prioritizing the present experience or the memory I'll create? Would my experiencing self enjoy this? Or am I just trying to impress my remembering self? The goal isn't to ignore oneself in favor of the other. It's to find a balance. Your experiencing self lives in the moment, but your remembering self writes the story you'll carry with you. So there you have it, a whirlwind tour of thinking fast and slow. It's a complex book, but the core message is simple. Understand how your brain works, and you can start to make better decisions. Be mindful of System 1's snap judgments. Question your biases. Embrace uncertainty. And remember to balance the needs of your experiencing and remembering selves. This isn't a one-time fix. It's a lifelong journey of self-awareness and continuous improvement. Now, I want to hear from you. What's the biggest takeaway from this video? What's one bias you're going to try to be more aware of? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more mind-expanding content. And if you're ready to dive deeper into this topic, I highly recommend picking up a copy of Thinking Fast and Slow. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Keep thinking, keep questioning, and keep exploring the amazing world inside your own mind.